We're talking about the state of public employee retirement systems. You know, you've already mentioned unfunded liabilities, but you've also talked about pension benefits that are inflexible. What do you mean by that?
Well, pension benefits in the public sector in California have layers of protection from the courts that most other types of compensation for public employees don't have. Courts have been very protective of public employee pension rights over the past century. What they basically said is that when public employees are hired, when they start work, certain vested contractual rights accrue, and that it is very difficult for a public employer to change those for people who are already in this system, current employees, past employees, without offering something comparable in exchange, something often comparably as expensive as the pension commitments that have been made.
You can certainly, I would think, change it for new employees, because that's a new bargain that you're striking.
That's right. For people hired from this day forward, the state and local governments can decide on a completely different pension arrangement. But for people who are already in the system, the state and local governments don't have a lot of flexibility unless those employees and retirees themselves agree to the changes.
Now, of course, one of the reasons why public employees like the traditional pension plan, or called defined benefit plan, is that really it puts the risk of any unfunded liability on the employer, on the state. The disadvantage from an employee's perspective with a defined contribution or 401k plan is it puts all the risk on the employee. Isn't that the benefit, though? That's why public employees like the traditional pension plan, is because they're not at risk, rather the employer is?
I think that that is a major benefit to the current system. The defined benefit system basically says that if for some reason the investment of the retirement system ends up a little short to fund the benefits that are promised, or a lot short, then public employers have to put in more money to make up the difference so that the employees, the retirees, get the benefit they're promised. And that's a major benefit to employees and retirees, and something they value very much.
And I think a lot of public employees might say that attracted them into public service because there is that benefit there.
I think that's right. And in some groups of public employees, the salaries have sometimes been less than they can make in the private sector.
The research I've seen is particularly for higher skilled workers that you actually get paid less in the public sector than the private sector.
Right. The data is very hard. Oftentimes it's hard to compare public and private sector employees, but I think that the data too tend to show what you say, and there are definitely some groups who have basically gone into the public sector and have decided to accept less salary in exchange for more benefits. So if the state and local governments in the future make our pension benefits less generous, move them away from the current defined benefit system, it's possible that for many of those groups' employees, the state and local governments will have to increase their salaries to make up for them and be able to attract the number and quality of workers that governments need.
What about this issue of cost volatility because of market fluctuations? You know, that you say that's a problem with the current system, defined benefit plan, but isn't that also true of defined contribution plans? 401k plans, they're also subject to market volatility as well, aren't they?
They are subject to market volatility, but as we were just discussing, the volatility falls on the employee, not the public employer. So in California, our state and local governments have been very stretched for some time. And with that volatility, the costs for the employer going up and down because of fluctuations in the stock market, that can make it very hard to budget, and the budget situation is already very hard. But these options that the governor and the legislature and others are looking at are very difficult, because if you get rid of the current defined benefit system, it means that employees in the future, retirees in the future, will bear all of the risk of market volatility. And I think many people would feel that that's too much risk for those retirees to bear in the future.
Well, you say there's disparity, though, between the public and private pension systems, and it can't be sustained much longer. So what are the options?
I think that there are a number of options that the state and local governments have. Here at the state level, the legislature has the ability to pass laws to change the retirement system for future public employees. And also, state and local governments can, if they choose, pursue changes through negotiation. We've highlighted two types of general responses. One is moving public employees in the future hires, more to hybrid plans, that is, less generous defined benefit plans than we have today, while combining it with a 401k type approach to supplement the defined benefit plans. And another option, which state employee unions have agreed to in the last year, and also some local unions, is to have more cost sharing. where those groups of public employees contribute more, thereby saving the employer, the taxpayers, some money in the bargain.
Well, I want to thank you very much for joining us. When we come back, we'll hear from both sides of the public employee pension reform debate. This is the Maddy Report.